Well, it's one of the main topics at stake in the energy industry today. We cannot say that the industry has not been used to changes, but what may be new now is that the pace of the change seems to accelerate quite dramatically as compared to we have known. And the second point to be noted is that the direction is about known. We know that there is a number of questions that have to be responded. There is a shift of geographical importance, so there is a shift of power to the east on the market. But there is also a change in the construction of the markets, where the offer and the consumer becomes more and more important in the global scene. And second, there is this environmental issue, generally speaking, which of course includes the climate change, which means that there is a certain urgency to act. And second, innovation is very, very, very active for the moment. And there is one thing we know, is that given the importance of the change what are occurring, given the importance of what we have to do to mitigate a number of challenges we have ahead, there will be not one solution for all. There will be multiple of solutions, different according to specific situation, specific country situation. And also, all the new technology will not be ready at once. They will develop gradually over years, and they are not necessarily ready now. So to respond to your question in that scope, what is very important is to properly manage all the set of technology, depending on what we think the moment comes when they are really ready to a mass distribution. And for doing that, there is a need to have a global vision. So we are now in a system where you cannot think energy looking at only one particular source of energy. You now have to look at the system globally. And this is even truer that there is a shift also for more electricity everywhere, which of course implies many other elements. So it's a very big challenge and a very big change where everything moves more or less at the same time. And when we look at innovation, what is mostly important is first of all to boost it more and more, because we need solutions. But the second also is to manage them over time and depending on each and every situation. So it's I would say, one of the most critical points we have to managing the time frame and to managing the system in its globality. It's correct to say that the case of stranded assets is an important issue in the picture, and it is why I said that the time management of change is also very important. Because of course, to the most possible extent, we have to avoid the excessive level of stranded assets that may appear, and to give operators and industrialists the time to face that. I would say the role of government is not important, not only because of stranded assets. It's also important because of what I mentioned. There is no one-fit solution, which means that there is a need for a global approach. And of course, the industry can have a global view, and each operator has its view, but it's clear that governments have to be involved to have the big picture. Big picture means not only the energy, but also what's the impact of the change on the other sector and the other issue related to social impact, for example. And also to accelerate some solution and so on. And the way to treat the stranded assets is, of course, something that regulators in countries which are organized around the regulation bodies, or governments more generally, will have to deal with to lessen the impact of stranded assets and not to discourage investors in the next phase to come. Well, whatever happened, what we know is that we need energy, and possibly we will need more energy than we use today. So the challenge, as I said, is of course to produce it in a more effective and sustainable way. But we will need energy. And energy, at the beginning of all, it's infrastructure. So there is no solution that doesn't come, first of all, by a strong consideration on the investment case and on the infrastructure. So any model of transformation of energy system will be dominated by the issue of how to attract investments, how to attract innovation, to nourish and to favor the promotion of infrastructure, which are absolutely needed. With no infrastructure, there will be no energy. So even if there is a focus given, more and more focus given on the downstream side, on the customer side, who needs more and more diverse offers and service related to that. But all those service and offer cannot be served if no energy is produced and transported. So infrastructure remains a very core element of the game. Well, first of all, it's fair to say that the Emirates, they have taken a very strong stance in the direction of tackling the challenge of the future for energy, and they are developing a very remarkable policy, very much in line with what the World Energy Council suggests in having an equilibrium of measure, an equilibrium between the various objectives of the energy policies. And also it's correct to say that Europe is going very strong into the direction. So I think the challenges and the obstacles are, of course, many. As I said, since there is no one fit solution for all, since there is a certain urgency to act, and since there will be a need of transferring capital and technology for winning this battle against climate change and winning the technological revolution, maintaining the capacity of exchange, dialogue, and in a relatively cooperative and fluid way is essential. And among the studies we made, we discovered one point which of course we knew, but that many of the CEOs that we meet and talk to, we have noticed that the questions of this fragmented world, this less cooperative world that we begin to see happening in some instance, is a source of concern. And if you think of the magnitude of the challenge we need and the uncertainty of the direction we have to take, on the uncertainty of which technology will at the end will be most profitable and more and ready on time to be used, we really think in WEC that there is a very important need for cooperation. And of course, in a more fragmented vision of the future, this will be more difficult. And if it is more difficult, it will not happen, or it will happen later, which possibly not optimized solution. So I think among the challenge we face is probably to be able to continue and to maintain, if not to reinforce, international cooperation, because the problems we have to solve are to a large extent of a global nature, even if each country may solve or may contribute to solve to the problem by its own way. But if the world was fracturing more than it is today, then possibly that would create difficulty to achieve the role. And this has been shown within the work that WEC has been doing on the scenario, where they have studied a case where the level of cooperation and exchange and trades and so on is more difficult in the world, and this translates, and this is what the model has demonstrated, this translates into a much lesser efficiency, including on the environmental goals.